I think my boyfriend is trying to baby trap me. I don't know what to do. I need help, please. Throw away for obvious reasons. Sorry for any errors, English is not my first language. I've been dating my boyfriend for a year. I live with him. My family life isn't great. My dad has been out of the picture for as long as I remember, and my mom is very mentally unstable. She has been diagnosed BPD, but isn't on treatment. She has always been a jealous person. She showers you with love and affection, but if you don't do the same for her, she will blow up. I've seen her do that to all of our partners and to me. She has been against me doing anything other than staying home with her for as long as I remember, against me having friends, studying for school, working out, etc. Always putting me down for anything. She has had better and worse times, and the last year has been one of her downs. She went absolutely mental when she found out I had a boyfriend. She tried to prohibit me from seeing him, made scenes whenever I spent time with him saying, I am changing her, etc. Went as far as trashing my room when I left for a whole day. One day I came home and she told me I either stay here with her and break up with him, or when I leave she will change the locks and never let me come back. I called my boyfriend crying and he offered for me to move in with him. I agreed. She has sent me pictures of her burning everything I had in my room that she never wants me to see again, and that I am a terrible daughter, made posts on Facebook calling me a loser, etc. Everything has been going okay until a week ago. I came back from school and told him we had a vocational orientation and that a nurse had came to tell us about her career. I told him I thought what she did was really cool and I would love to be a nurse. He asked me if you had to study to be a nurse and I said you had. It was about 3 years, I think. He then asked me when we would get married and I laughed and said, I don't know, maybe after I finish the career? He frowned and said he wanted to have kids young. I told him we could, just not that young. We still had plenty of time, and I thought it was best for both of us to have careers before having kids. There wasn't a rush. He said he was running late for work and the conversation was cut short. He has since then done something really weird in which he starts talking semi-sarcastically about when I start studying and asking me things like if I'm going to go to parties and make more friends or if I'll still have time for him. When I ask him why is he talking like that, he will deny using any tone. He has also started to try and convince me to have relations without a condom, saying that he will pull out. One time he even went as far as ignoring me asking him to put one on and trying to go in me, and he stopped just because I screamed at him. 3 days ago, I saw him doing something with the drawer where we keep our stash of condoms open. When he saw me, he closed it quickly. I grew suspicious and went to look at them after he left. Some of them had little dots like they had been poked. There were just a quarter of them, so I feel like if I bring this up, he will deny it and say some were just broken. The other day I asked him if he wanted to have relations without a condom. Maybe I should start doing hormonal birth control, and he said those pills will make you fat and he doesn't want me being fat. He also made fun of me saying I'm being so dramatic about being scared of getting pregnant like it was a curse or something. I thought about talking it out with him and reassuring him that me wanting to go to college doesn't change anything in our relationship, and we still have plenty of time to form a family, but maybe I'm being naive. I really do love him and don't want to end this relationship. Up until now, he has been the biggest blessing. I don't know what else to do. I don't have access to my own money to get my own birth control without him. I live with him. I don't have anywhere else to go. Update 1. A couple of hours ago, I asked for help and a couple of subs for a specific situation with my boyfriend. Many people gave me advice and made me feel like I wasn't crazy, which I genuinely appreciate. But a lot of advice I was given revolved around me leaving or taking action behind his back. I started thinking, and I don't think the dynamics of our relationship are standard. It would be really hard for me to hide something from him. He takes care of everything money is involved, which makes sense because he makes the money, but it is to an extent I don't remember him ever giving me cash, not even to buy the simplest, cheapest items. Whenever we need something, he goes and buys it, from groceries to clothes to everything. He has made me wait in stores with things we need for the house for him to come to where I am and pay. Even when he charges my public transport card, he asks me how many trips I need to make and charges exactly the money for them, not 1 cent more. I have access to absolutely zero money. I used to think it was just a quirk of his, but now I feel like it's deliberate. My phone doesn't have a plan, I just use Wi-Fi and have him as my emergency contact if I'm outside the house. I don't have friends or really any type of relationships that he also isn't friends with. All my friends are people he knew first. If I do anything without him, he insists on dropping me off and picking me up. He asks me for selfies of what I'm doing every hour of the day if we are apart. He convinced me to delete together all of our conventional social media, Insta, Twitter, TikTok, claiming it's better for our mental health. And then he didn't delete his because he realized he needed them for his job. He doesn't know English and he has started complaining whenever I consume any media in English, claiming it makes him feel left out and he wants to be able to engage in my hobbies. With people recommending me to search for narcissist abuse and other comments, I started to rethink most things I never really put much thought into or minded about. Maybe he has been controlling all along, I just didn't oppose any of his requirements until now. I guess I'm just used to having no control. With my mom, it was the worst. At least he lets me enjoy myself. She would try to make me feel miserable every hour of the day. But at the same time, it's so much worse. Outside of empty threats, there was very little she could do after I was 13 or 14. She is fat and old, and I have little respect or love for her. She could trash my room or scream or not feed me all she wanted, but she couldn't retain me physically. With him, outside from being way stronger than me, I love him so much. I can't even picture myself ever finding the strength to leave. It really physically pains me to write this. I feel like I'm delusional and I want to be. I feel like such an empty shell of a human being, though I had control of my life for once and I am just in the same spot. Update 2. Posted the update a couple of hours ago and it got deleted by the mods because I wasn't specifically asking for advice. Fair enough. So I now specify I am still asking for advice in this situation. I want feedback on my way of dealing with things. It helps me stop underestimating situations. I'm trying my best to be realistic, it's just hard sometimes when you have no idea what to do otherwise. Original post. Hi guys, I have a smallish update. People told me to contact my father's family for help. I tried and he smoothly told me he does not care. I have no close enough friends who aren't friends with him to reach out to, and there isn't a women's shelter in my city. I'm also very adamant about contacting the police because my country's child laws are very strong on putting blood bonds over almost every type of abuse that is not full-blown, crude, sexual, or physical. I do not want to get back at my mom's house for any terms. I know there's a possibility this isn't going to work out and the way he was acting wasn't okay, but he has been so good to me since now. I feel like he deserves the benefit of the doubt. I spent the weekend trying to avoid having relations. I claimed I had a bruised cervix, which did happen before, so he understood and didn't push it further than just asking for oral a couple of times, which I don't mind. He did make one weird joke on Saturday when I got out of the shower and he saw me, and he said something along the lines of, "If you don't let me get what's mine, I'll have to just get in myself." I guess he could see on my facial expression that I didn't find it funny and assured me he was just joking. I genuinely believe him, it was just a joke that came off the wrong way. I managed to talk to a school friend and ask for help. Today we skipped the first period and went to a nearby salida. I don't know how to describe it in English, but a very small hospital for neighborhoods. I got a birth control shot. I hoped I would be able to get a 3-month one, but they didn't have any, so I have to go back every month to get it on the same day. I still think it's better than pills because that means I don't have to hide any items. And it was free! Yay! Thanks to the girl in Argentina that sent me to the link to them. Later, I started stressing about what would happen if the day of the month falls on the weekend and I do not have school to use an excuse, but I still have many months to go, so that's a future me problem. I will still try to stand my ground on him using condoms though. I know I need some type of backup plan if the situation goes south, so I applied for government aid that's supposed to be for high school students from public schools, and it's supposed to help you with money for uniforms or school supplies. It's not much, but I thought if I created a Mercado Pago account, PayPal for Argentina, that I can create from my home and put my money there in investing mode, and I can help if not all disappear from the inflation. I still don't know if I'm going to get accepted because it has a restriction on your parents' income and I am not sure how much they are making currently. If he still doesn't want me to study when I turn 18, I can apply for a program that helps you for 3 months financially for people who are suffering domestic violence. The program seems too good to be true though, so if someone in Argentina is reading this, can you tell me if it's accessible as it seems? As per today was such a crappy weird day. When I got home from school and he got home from work, I saw him and just started crying uncontrollably. He didn't ask me anything, he just held me and told me not to worry, that everything was going to be okay, and that he was going to take care of me. I don't know if he had his own theory on why I was crying or if he didn't want to bother asking, but I ended up falling asleep while hugging him. It made me feel like a hypocrite. I feel like for the last months, for the first time in my life, I was just able to put my guard down and not walk on eggshells. So it kind of sucks being back on analyzing everything someone says or does or makes me do. I woke up like 2 hours ago and he went back to work. So now I am writing this not knowing how to feel. Update 3. This post has been translated from the original Spanish. My boyfriend has been having a lot of violent activities and I need to get out of the relationship, but I'm kind of tied to him because I don't work and he supports me. I don't have any money that belongs to me, and I don't have many people in my life to ask for help. Several months ago, he bought a laptop for me to use primarily, but he uses it too. I thought about taking it and maybe selling it if I need the money. Can he sue me and put me in the legal bardo? I am underage. He doesn't care so much about the legal implications as much that by complaining about it, he can get the police to find out where I am and have access to me. I'm 17 if it makes a difference. Update 4. This is a long post, but please bear with me. I need advice in this situation and am tired of feeling like I'm burdening the very few people I have in my life with my hesitation. I used this account to ask for advice a couple of times to know if my partner was being abusive or if I was being dramatic. You guys were right. From my first post, things just went downhill. I feel like he could sense I wanted to leave and became more hostile. From slight controlling acts, it escalated to plain violence, physically and SA. On top of that, I found him cheating and a lot of other worrying stuff on his phone, but that alone would take me a whole post. I didn't know how to leave. I had no money or anywhere to go. At the perfect time, I remembered a very specific figure from my past that had almost left my mind between traumatic events, who had promised to help me if anything wrong happened to me. I'm sorry this is vague, I do not want to give identifiable information. She agreed to help me, so without thinking about it too long, I left him a note explaining why I was leaving without saying where to, and I left with like 2 t-shirts and my phone charger. This was last week Monday. The person who has helped me escape has been nothing short of wonderful and the most loving human being, but that sadly hasn't made this past week any less horrifying. He tried contacting me on all platforms we have, and I answered all his first messages explaining I am okay, but I don't want to go back and block him afterward, except for an email just in case. He started sending messages saying he couldn't live without me, asking me to come back. Then they fluctuated to full walls of paragraphs saying how much he hated me and how much of a horrible human being I am and threatening physical violence. He then sent me a message with a folder with nude pictures he had of me saying he would share them if I didn't agree to see him. The pictures are half pictures of myself I knew he had, but they don't really show anything that would gain me a ban on Instagram. They are just suggestive. There are a whole other bunch of pictures that I sent him on limited time agreeing to his persistence for them, and I had specifically asked to not screenshot, but oh well. In these pictures, I specifically didn't show my face or any defining feature that would tell it's me. The real issue comes with a couple of pictures he added where I'm fully naked and you can recognize me. I did not take or consent to be taken in these photos. He had taken them while I was asleep or distracted. I don't think he would be dumb enough to share this because I'm a minor and doing so would mess up his life way more than it would mine. Still, it scares me very much. His actions don't end here. He then proceeded to say if I didn't answer, he would find where I was and come hurt me. My mom and a school friend asked me where I was because he had gone by their houses demanding to see me and threatening them if they didn't let him in. I made the terrible mistake of telling my mom where I was and what was going on. She didn't have much of a response other than telling me that it was my fault and that I deserved it because she always told me he was bad news. Well, turns out my ex-boyfriend's mom called mine, crying and pleading with her to convince her that I return home with him because she feared for his mental health and life if I didn't, and the piece of crap I have the displeasure of calling my mom had told her where and with who I am. She informed me this. Her excuse was that she knows how hard it is to be a mother and she empathizes with her because I am a horrible human being that keeps hurting people. Since this, he has just sent me one email saying he knows where I am and nothing else. I am incredibly terrified and haven't left the house. Who I am staying with has encouraged me to file a lawsuit against him because then I can ask for state help, and I do have some evidence. I don't know what is the value of the evidence. I have the emails, screenshots from his phone talking to his friends about me, and Loki admitting to SAing me, pictures of marks he has left on me, and a video of him hitting the door I am hiding against, screaming, threatening to hurt me. I never till today thought of taking legal action. This whole experience has made me feel so weak. I feel if one more person starts questioning me, I will lose my sanity. I just want to move on with my life and leave everything that has to do with him behind. I am from a very small town and people love him and his family. I feel that even if I have all the evidence in the world, the average person will still be on his side. I am an outsider with a mom known for losing her marbles. The only really weird thing that gave me a little bit of hope is that today one of the girls in his friend group contacted me and asked me if I was okay and to know my side of the story. She said she had created her suspicions one night when we went to hang out with his friends and he had gotten really drunk and really mad at me. She said she had seen him throwing and pushing me around. I hadn't even realized he was doing so. She said she believed me and she was proud of me for leaving. She has no reason for believing me over him or reaching out. It made me feel less crazy. I don't know if legal action will bring me more safety or just more mess. I don't care about justice anymore, I just want to live. Concerning the ex-boyfriend's age. This comment. User 1. How old is the guy? OP. 23. OP has commented in the original Boru thread here. Hi, I'm fine, thanks to everyone that reached out. I stopped posting because someone started harassing me and I just really didn't have the energy to write or do anything. I am currently back at living with my mom because of the legal procedures, how I feared, but I am planning to move out with some friends next month. A lot has happened since my last post. If you guys still care, I can update more in depth soon. New updates. Update 5. Hey everyone, sorry for the long disappearance. My life has been stressful enough lately and I just haven't had the energy to share what's been happening. I want to address something. So many people complained about me telling my mother where I was. I don't know why I did it. I know it was stupid. I think it was just wishful thinking she would at least not try to actively harm me. Sometimes I just make poor decisions. So I want to give you a fair warning that in the next weeks I didn't make the smartest choices either. Please don't hate me for it. One of the reasons I'm updating now is that my previous post helped me remember things better. Without them, I'd keep convincing myself that things weren't as serious as they were, or that they didn't happen at all. It's tough explaining everything that's happened since my last post. I haven't written anything in the past 2 months, and it's all a blur in my mind. I feel like I've been living in a fog for so long. After my last update, I got a restraining order against my ex-boyfriend, but I decided not to pursue legal action because some of me still loves him and I didn't want to ruin his life. Things were calmer for about 2 weeks, but then my ex-boyfriend started reaching out again. I didn't take action the first time he contacted me. I had to go back to my city for some paperwork and he found out. He asked to talk and I agreed, hoping for closure since things ended so abruptly. I never got to explain what I found or why I wanted to get away from him. I know it sounds silly, but I just hoped to be able to understand him a little bit at least. So we met in a public place during the day to be safe. Unfortunately, our conversation mostly involved him blaming me for everything and denying his actions. Realizing it wasn't going anywhere, I left. He was a bit pushy about me staying, but eventually he let me go. Now he had ignored the restraining order, and I haven't done anything about it. As a result, he's become way more relaxed about taking it seriously. He started emailing me, but he wasn't aggressive. Just asked to see me again repeatedly and sent me pictures of us. He went further and took a vacation week from work to come to town I was in. He got a room there, and every time I got out of the house, he would drive by my side and try to talk to me. Surprisingly, he was very calm and respectful during these encounters. I know it was a dumb decision, but I just couldn't bear any more dealing with the police or confrontation. Plus, I feared that they would blame me for not calling the first time he showed up, and he wasn't being mean to me, which was the only thing I cared about. So I thought I could ignore it and that eventually it would stop. I know I'm stupid for doing so. My reason was just do whatever is easier for the next 6 minutes. Survival. He became more demanding about me going back with him. Just slowly started losing his patience. I thought he might just be about to give up. Well, I've never been more wrong in my life. This is the part where I add the big trigger warning. He forced me into his car, and now I'd rather just say that an ADN kit, meant to say DNA, I forgot its different letters in English, was enough to get him facing the whole spectrum of charges. I don't really know what his ultimate plan was, but after he left me in a rural area near the city and he cut the soles of my feet so I couldn't walk, I sat there crying for hours until someone found me and helped me. He also took my phone, which I now have back. Anyway, I was taken to the police and he now has an actual case against him. I haven't seen him since then, but the case is probably going to take forever to resolve. I was forced to go back to my mom's house, so it feels like bouncing from one narcissist to another. I feel stuck in a cycle. I want to move to the capital city of my province when I turn 18 and leave everything behind me. Right now, everyone in my town looks at me weirdly, and even the sympathetic ones make me feel like they just see me as a helpless pet they pity. I don't know if that makes sense. Until 2 days ago, I was sure to do it with a new friend and some of her friends who are renting a house altogether for dirt cheap there, but I'm second guessing myself. I'm scared I'll get there and I won't be able to get a job. Also, everyone there is a little bit heavy on the drug use and I just feel like it might be a very unstable living arrangement. If it fails, they can just go back to their parents' house, but I can't do that. Also, I literally don't know them at all. So I don't know, I just really want to leave. My mom has been making me feel crappy even if she isn't trying to lay hands on me that much. Update 6. I always come back to Reddit to ask for support when nasty things happen. I'm sorry. I was essayed by my ex-boyfriend a couple of months ago. It had all the aggravating factors. Death threats before it, consent was widely denied, he basically abducted me beforehand, all 3 types of carnal access, borderline torture, and it was very much planned. I feel disgusted just having to explain it. I try not to think about it because it triggers me in every possible way. Legal proceedings are still going on. I've been trying to get my life back together, healing and moving on. I repeat myself every day about how harm is temporary, how it's all in my head now, and someday I'll be able to get over it, and it will just be one ugly memory that doesn't control my life. Today I realized I've been lying to myself. Apart from the psychological distress that all of this has caused me, I've also had to meet up regularly with a gynecologist who tracks physical healing. I hadn't had a proper period since the abuse, and today I was let know I am most likely infertile. I'm so angry and sad and everything else. I don't know if my grief makes sense to everyone here. I've always wanted to become a mom in a long time, but it's been something I've always pictured myself doing in the future. And now I know that it doesn't matter how far away I move to, how much time he ends up getting for what he did to me, how much I try to process everything, I will never be able to ignore it because I will always have the reminder that he took that away from me, and it's never going to get better. I feel stupid for even letting something like that happen to me, for making stupid choices, for not seeing the red flags sooner. I don't think I can put everything behind me. I don't know how to move on, how to be my own person and not my trauma. I can't keep telling myself it will all become better someday. Update 7. I just wanted to say this on my profile because I know some people sometimes read it and get worried. I always post on Reddit on the worst of times, but I want to say something nice for once. I got a job, part-time, but it's okay for now. I made some friends in school, they invite me places sometimes. I am gaining weight. I sometimes can feel like I'm on the route to unclench my fists over everything that has happened. I still have a lot of grief in me, but I know I'll be okay someday. OP has commented in the thread. Comment here. Hi Boru, I just wanted to say to all the people that are mad at me on the comments because I made bad choices that I don't want to keep apologizing for them anymore. I know my brain works to ignore all type of confrontation at all costs, even without thinking what is at risk, and I should know to change that. But I did my best at the time. I didn't always react how I would have liked to, and I kept hoping for everything to be less serious than it was because of things that were serious. I had no idea or the resources to deal with them. Even if I had reacted better, there were only certain amounts of things I could have done. Don't keep repeating the scenario and asking what I could have done better. I'm already doing that on my own, and it's useless. At least I left, at least I'm alive. I also don't want you to feel sorry for me, but try to understand how paralyzing it can be to see what you thought was finally your safe place crumble to pieces in a matter of weeks. This is heartbreaking and rage-inducing all at the same time. Not mad at her because she made decisions like it sounded like everybody else was commenting, why you keep doing this? And then they were making her feel more stupid or something. It's rage-inducing because she's freaking screwed. I mean, like it sounds like she was just dealt like the worst hand possible. Her father didn't care whatsoever. She was with her mom, who was abusive, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And finally, she has a glimmer of hope where she has this new boyfriend. She's like, I'm in love and we have fun and we're happy and things are going to be better. And maybe that was just a form of Stockholm syndrome. Is that the right term? Where, you know, she was just kind of moved out and felt a little bit free, but he ended up being just as abusive, or more so actually, and every type of way. And it just got worse and worse for her. And it sucks when there's not a lot of happy, good updates, you know? It's like the last sentence is, hey, don't worry, things are getting better. And it's glad to hear, but I don't know, you read these stories for so long and you get invested and you're like, oh man, I feel horrible. Like I want to know there's some more sunshine on the horizon. But yeah, it's hard to know. Like sometimes you're just really shoved in the worst of spot. She said both her parents don't care. Now her significant other doesn't care. And she's like, the town people and the legal course of action, like all of them, they just don't really care, and it's just feel like you're in the worst of spots. So I don't know what the advice would be, but if you're in a situation like this, all I can really say is I'm praying for you, and I hope that the right people come into your life that can help you out, but also just to remind you that no matter how many times people tell you they care about you, do your best to pay attention to the way they treat you, because as the old saying goes, actions do speak louder than words, and you know, you can fall for a lot and you can fall for it easily. So hope she's doing well, and I hope anybody else out there who is in a similar situation, I hope there are none, but if you are, that things are also getting better. Story 2. Recently found out that I, 17-year-old male, got into my brother's 19-year-old male former dream university, which he did not get accepted to last year, feeling guilty about really wanting to go now. My brother Mike 19, for a long time had a dream university that he wanted to go to. I'm not quite sure when or why he settled on this choice, but from about the time he was a freshman, he was working to get into this particular school. Unfortunately, he didn't get into the school and he was really upset about it. He spent the better part of a month miserable, but he snapped out of it eventually. Mike went to his second choice university, which this year was ranked higher than his first choice, and got particular recognition for the program that he's in. He had a really good year. He loved it, made a ton of friends, and got really good grades too. This year, I was applying to universities, and I applied to Mike's old top choice. One of my teachers, who has actually never met Mike, recommended it and really encouraged me to apply. I was hesitant at first because it was Mike's school, but he's also a lot smarter than I am, so I figured that if he couldn't get in, then I wouldn't either. Although I applied for a totally different program from him, I couldn't tell Mike or parents, or anyone but my teacher really, that I was applying. I recently found out I got in. At first I was happy. I mean, it's by far the best university I got into, and all those years of Mike talking it up made me like it as well, I guess. But now I'm feeling guilty, I guess, for applying. It's like I'm stealing his dream or something, I don't know. I haven't told anyone I got in yet. I wanted to talk to Mike first about it, but my dad had to go away for work and had a layover at the closest airport to the university. And Mike made this joke about the city being the town which must not be named, and said he would have taken the other route, which had a layover 3 times as long in another airport just to avoid being in that city. So he obviously still has some feelings about it. Normally I speak to my brother first about everything. He's the one I go to for advice, but I can't do that now. I do really like the university and I want to go, and I have to make that decision like ASAP to sort out housing and everything, but I'm worried that my going might affect my relationship with my brother. I don't want it to seem like I'm stealing his dream or something. How should I approach him about this? Should I just tell my parents first? Relevant comments. User 1. I would tell your parents first, but most importantly, never hold yourself back from pursuing what's best for you because your success will make somebody feel bad. OP. Thanks for the advice. When you put it like that, it makes me think about it very differently actually. It makes it seem very obvious what the right thing to do for me is. User 2. Just tell your brother you got in and want to go. It sounds like he's happy and doing well for himself at where he ended up. His city that should not be named could have just been a joke. Heck, who knows? Your brother might be proud of you and encourage you to go. OP. It would mean so much if he was proud of me because I really do look up to him a lot. Update 4 days later. On Saturday, I was able to speak to my brother and tell him that I got into the university. He was really happy for me, like a lot of people said he would be. When I told him I got in, he gave me a huge hug and was really excited. It was a huge relief. He asked me if it was my top choice since he didn't know I had applied. I told him it was, and he said that we would have to celebrate then. He told me I didn't seem excited enough and I should be really proud of myself. And he asked if it was the shock of just finding out. When I told him I found out a few days ago and he was the only one that knew, he asked me what's going on because I wasn't reacting to the great news like it was great news. I admitted that I worried about telling him because I didn't want him to be mad. We talked about it and he basically said what everyone in the comments said, that he's proud of me and happy for me. I mentioned that I got into a different program than his and my requirements were lower, and he told me to not downplay my success and to stop worrying about him being mad because he wasn't. He told me that when I told my parents he wanted me to be more confident and proud of myself because I did something great. Yesterday, while we were hanging out at his buddy's house, he told me I should tell them the news, which I didn't want to because I hate talking about myself. He asked if he could tell them, which I told him was okay. They were all happy for me too. Honestly, his reaction was better than I even hoped for. But looking back, I should have expected it from him because that's always been the type of brother he is. Now that's the kind of sweet uplifting Reddit stories we like to hear. / read, I guess. But you know what? Kind of like that other comment said, you can't hold yourself back for somebody else or in an effort to spare or save someone else's feelings. And I get it. I get the intention. It comes from a good place. This kid obviously has a great heart and he's just worried about what his brother's going to think and what his brother's going to feel, you know, and he wants them to be happy and he wants everyone to be okay without putting himself first at all. And I get it. I understand. Like, that's a good quality to have. But at some point, you know, they say be selfish, but it's not even selfish. Like, just, you know, do what's best for you and take care of yourself. And chances are If your relationship is that good with the person or with his brother that you're worried about what he's going to care about, like you care about him that much, chances are that, he cares about you as well. And he was only ever going to react with pride and joy and enthusiasm. And it's great to see that there was enough maturity and wisdom that it played out exactly like we had all hoped, right? And it's just beautiful, Go family, go kid, go brothers, go school. Everybody have a good day. Story 3. Ex-wife, 38-year-old female, married my 37-year-old male best friend, 35-year-old male. It's killing me and destroyed my marriage. Plus update. I, 37-year-old male, have been with my wife, 26-year-old female, for 5 years and married 4 years. We have 3 kids from her previous relationship, 2 boys and 1 girl, between the ages of 5 and 8. I really love her and her kids. Things were perfect until 3 or 4 months ago. I've had 3 big promotions in 5 years. We bought a house last year. She stays home with the kids and is trying to make a social media career happen. I've always been on the fence about having kids, but she really wanted us to have one together, so I agreed to try to have my vasectomy reversed. She's 7 months pregnant now. We were so freaking happy. My ex-wife, 38-year-old female, divorced me in 2019 and moved about 2 hours away a few months into the pandemic. Our divorce was amicable, but once it was finalized, I never heard from her again, even when I would wish her well on birthdays and holidays. I even sent her a graduation gift when I heard that she finished her PhD program. Other people in our social circle, including my parents and sister-in-law who sent her a gift, received handwritten thank you cards. I didn't get so much as a text. My ex-wife is a really kind and thoughtful person, and the woman I knew would have at least sent a thank you text if her worst enemy sent her a gift. Even though we broke up, I didn't think she hated me. My best friend, 35-year-old male, and I were best friends since college. He's the best person I know, and at least 10 people think he's their best friend, but he said that I was always his. We kind of lost touch during the pandemic. We live 2 hours apart, and he is a lawyer and teaches classes at a university, so he is really busy. I have a really busy career and a new wife and 3 kids. I didn't really realize that the texts between us were fewer, and that the last time he finally replied to me was in late 2021. He also falls off the face of the earth when he gets with a new girl, and then when things cool off, we all hear from him more. We've always been the kind of friends that could go on extended periods of time without communicating and then pick up right where we left off. I kept saying that I would eventually call him when things were less busy. My wife and I went to visit the city he and my ex-wife live in last summer for a week, and I tried calling him a couple of times to meet up, but he never answered. I was sad, but just figured he was busy with work or obsessed with a new girlfriend. I have other friends there, so I got to see them. Then I went to the city again by myself in October for a Halloween party. I figured he'd be at this party, and I was psyched that I'd get to see him then. He was there. When I went to say hi and hug him, he looked a little surprised and gave me a weak hug. I told him that I was there during the summer and that I tried calling him so we could hang out. He just said, "Yeah, I was on my honeymoon that week. Sorry I didn't get back to you." I was really shocked to hear that he'd gotten married and a little hurt that my best friend got married without me even knowing he had a serious girlfriend, but still happy for him. Like I said, he was a great guy and girls love him. I spit out a rush of questions like, who is she? Where is she? What's her name? What's she like? Where'd you meet her? How long have you been together? He paused for a moment and then just bluntly said, "It's ex-wife's name." My ex-wife doesn't have a unique name or anything, but it isn't the most common name either, and I instantly knew that it was her. I can't describe how it felt to hear those 2 words come out of his mouth. I felt sick to my stomach and I immediately wanted to die. I have never felt like that before. I just said, "What the heck?" He told me that I didn't get to be mad because I broke her heart and they didn't start dating until 2 years after we got divorced, and that I chose to be with some waitress anyway. I drank the rest of the weekend because it was the only way I was able to sleep. I feel betrayed by both of them. My best friend since I was 20 years old married my ex-wife behind my freaking back. I was married to her for 6 years and they were never even friends, and now they're in love with each other? I also found out that he talked crap about my current wife and me behind my back and never liked her. I went back home and I know that I was distant with my wife and the kids because I was just hurting so much. After a couple of weeks, we had a big fight and she called me out on being distant and accused me of cheating. I finally came clean and told her about my ex and my best friend, which she scoffed about and said she'd known about them for a long time now because of social media. I flew into a rage and we fought for hours. She betrayed me by not telling me the entire time she knew. She didn't say anything when I mentioned my best friend not returning my calls or messages. I didn't get to sleep before going to work, and after work I just stayed with my parents for a few days. When I finally went back home, we got into another fight where she accused me of still being in love with my ex. and said I wouldn't care if I wasn't. I called her stupid and said that she wouldn't understand because she doesn't have any friends. I wouldn't care if my ex-wife got married to anyone else if it wasn't my best friend. I don't see what is so hard to understand about that. We made up eventually, but I feel sick to my stomach every day and things aren't the same in our relationship. I love my wife, but I've come to realize it's not the same way I loved my ex-wife. My wife doesn't love me the same way my ex-wife did either. I've started to regret the things that led to our divorce because we were really happy until the moment she left me. I don't even have my best friend to call because he's too busy messing around with my ex-wife to care about me anymore. Everything feels empty and like a lie now. A lot of friends agree that they both betrayed me, but I think I need to move on. Even my dad and brother told me to get over it. My sister-in-law yelled at me and my mom tries to comfort me, but I know she's overhearing about my problems. I have to pretend I'm okay, but I'm not. No one gives a crap about mental health when it comes to men. I brought up couples therapy to my wife, but she said that she thinks we are okay, since we worked through things. Guess I have to pretend for the rest of my life now because divorce is not on the table. I need advice on what to do and how to get closure. I'm thinking of driving to their city to just show up and force them to talk to me so I can move on. Is that too much to ask? How do I get my wife to see that it is hard to trust her after knowing she kept a big secret from me for a long time? Update. The overwhelming consensus here is that I am a piece of crap, which is true. The other consensus is that I need therapy. I asked my brother to help me, but neither of us even know where to begin to find a therapist. He said he would ask his wife to help us, and she texted me this morning and said she was only helping because of my brother. I guess that's fair. Opie confirms he cheated on his ex-wife with his current wife. My ex-wife found out about me sleeping with my current wife. I broke up with my current wife for my ex-wife so we could work things out. She decided she wanted a divorce a couple of months later, even though I begged her to try with me. Out of respect, I tried to make sure the divorce was as easy as possible. I got back together with my current wife while we were separated. OP keeps repeating he knows he screwed up and he misses his ex-wife and best friend, but also says he doesn't want to hurt his current wife. I do really wish that I found out that day and felt happy for them, or at least felt nothing. I buried a lot of feelings down when I married my current wife, and they all came flooding out. I miss my best friend. I miss my ex-wife. I am so sorry I hurt her. I love her and never stopped loving her, and that scares me because I don't want to hurt my wife. I know I screwed up. Opie says he and his ex-wife didn't want children, and says his stepchildren's fathers aren't in their lives. My ex-wife and I didn't want children. Birth control made her sick and we both hated condoms, so a vasectomy made sense at the time. The fathers are not in the picture and the last one was not a good man. I think I thought I was saving her in some screwed up way. Opie confirms that his current wife's last pregnancy isn't his baby when he was still married to his ex-wife. The ex was abusive and I thought I was saving her. The child is not biologically mine, we had the baby tested. Opie wants to do therapy for himself. His sister-in-law recommends inpatient therapy. I know I have a lot to think about, my wife and my kids most importantly, but everything going on in my brain is so overwhelming right now. How do I prioritize therapy without taking away time and energy from my wife and kids or the new baby who will be here soon? A lot of people have been messaging me and telling me to unalive myself because my family would be better off without me. Believe me, it crosses my mind so much that it scares me. It would certainly be easier for me, but I think it would traumatize everyone involved even more. 1 month later, Opie comes back and says he is in therapy and it's difficult, but he is doing better. Therapy is probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but I think it might be working. I'm okay. My wife is almost due and she's healthy but tired of being pregnant. She's doing okay too. The kids are doing well. It was my daughter's birthday recently and it was really the first good day I've had in forever. I love being their dad. A lot is still going on, but I'm alive and that's the first step. Update. Opie posted this update from his original account and from a throwaway account. This is kind of an update to my last post a few months ago, and I'm also hoping for advice on how to best navigate this. I've tried a couple of times to write this update, but I get stressed trying to make it all make sense, so I will just dump it all here and hope it comes out okay. When I tried to post with my original account, the mods deleted my post and said I needed to add throw RA. I guess I should start by saying that I had/have a lot more issues than my original post addressed, or than I even recognized at the time. Therapy is helping me uncover a lot of it, and it's really uncomfortable on the good days and crushing on the bad days. So many people talk about how they feel so much better after going to therapy, but I feel worse. I'm still going to go through because for as much as it sucks, it is helping me learn better ways of dealing with things. It is also helping me explain myself to me a little bit better. Like I am a crappy person, but I wasn't always a crappy person, and I'm starting to see where it all went wrong. I feel like understanding that is the only way I can address those things and then become a better person. I did inpatient therapy then after my release. I see a therapist in her office once a week and meet virtually once a week. I also see a psychiatrist once every 2 weeks and started on some medications. It's weird how I can kind of see them helping parts of my brain but dulling other parts and making my body not feel the best. I try to explain it to the doctor, but he just tells me it's going to take some time for them to fully work and that eventually I will get used to it. My wife had the baby, but while I was away, she told me about the possibility of the baby not being mine. I grieved that so much, but I decided it wasn't too much good in dwelling on it too much right now until we knew for sure once she is born. The results came back last week and she isn't mine. We haven't made any decisions right now about our relationship, but are living together for the sake of the kids and her recovery from having the baby. She said that if I didn't want to be with her anymore, she'd go back to her home state with her mom and stepdad. She also mentioned that she knew she wouldn't get alimony or child support because of our state, but I told her I would help her get back home and on her feet if that's what ended up happening. Since I got back home, I have stepped up more and been more active as a dad, which has been really good for me. Being a responsible and present father helps me forget about all the other stuff in the moment, but it would be a lie for me to say that I don't worry about how much it'll hurt to lose them if we break up, since they are not biologically or legally mine. I also just worry about them a lot and think they deserve to have a safe and stable, happy childhood. I'm really sad that the baby isn't mine. I wanted her to be mine more than anything in the world, but I find it really hard to be angry with my wife for some reason. I cheated on my first wife with her, so it's kind of karma in a way. And what could I really expect when our relationship started the way that it did? Plus, there's this other part of me that understands that she is a deeply damaged person like me. I don't really want to go into a lot of details, but we both lived through some similar crap happening to us when we were kids that bonded us. Neither of us really dealt with it, but I thought that I was okay, because I grew up privileged and she didn't, so I always had more opportunities than she did. I also thought that since I didn't think about it as much, I was okay. She thought about it all the time and she wasn't okay. My ex-wife is an amazing woman and she deserves to be happy. I sent her an email and just kind of poured my heart out about how sorry I am for hurting her. I would rip my heart out to give it to her if it helped her heal from the heartbreak I caused her. I said in the email that I didn't expect a reply and that I would never attempt contact with her again after that. She got in contact with my brother a few times to check on me, and she's called me twice and we talked for a few hours about everything. She's really happy and she's doing well. I'm proud of her and she deserves to be happy. I am really lucky that I had the years that I had with her, but now it is time to accept how I screwed up and try my best to do better going forward. I don't think I will ever contact her again, but would be happy to hear from her if she ever reaches out again. It still hurts a little, but I understand now that that door is fully closed. The door with my friend is closed too. We haven't spoken and we probably never will, but that's okay. I found out from other friends that he was always in love with my ex-wife and he was the person who convinced her to move to where they live now after our divorce. I think knowing helps because the story I created in my head was far worse. I also understand now why no one wanted to tell me. My brother and I got so close again, which his wife isn't the happiest about. I am not sure where I would be right now if it wasn't for him. We invited them over during the weekend, and at one point, she and I were in a room alone for a few minutes, and I told her that I was sorry, and she just hugged me and told me that I was stupid, but that she knows I am trying. I also have two really good friends who have been there for me through everything, even though they have been clear from the very beginning that they have not agreed with my actions. All of them are more than I deserve. My relationship with my parents isn't the best right now. They are both really mad at me because my brother confronted them about what I told them related to the thing that happened when I was a kid. They feel like he is blaming them and that they did the best they could for me. I think that they are really embarrassed too. I get it and I don't really blame them. I don't think they knew what to do. I am not sure that this is the update that anyone wanted to read, but it's all I've got. My life is still very much in limbo, maybe even in shambles, but I am doing my best to fix it and fix some of the hurts I have caused others. I would recommend therapy as much as everyone recommended it to me, but I would caution to add that it requires a lot of honesty to work, and that sometimes that kind of honesty reopens old wounds. But those wounds are dirty and infected, so you've got to clean them up and treat them to get better, which is going to hurt, but I am not sure there's any other way. How do I make the best decision for the kids and for myself? Should I try to work things out with my wife, or would it be best to make a clean break? OP is asked about the newest baby's father. The baby's father is a man she had a 3 or so week fling with. Neither of us were listed on the birth certificate. The way it was explained to me was that I would have had to file some sort of acknowledgement form or get a court order once we established paternity, since she only put her name on the birth certificate. But there were a lot of questions about it since we are legally married. It's too soon to tell if I'm screwed as far as that's concerned. Who is the fling? It's a guy she met at the gym. She said that they had a fling and that he ghosted her. OP is unsure on what to do regarding his current family. I think I'm still shell-shocked. To be honest, I can feel it in my stomach, almost literally. Like my stomach is so full of knots all the time that I can barely eat. But the feeling hasn't made it to my brain yet, but I am constantly thinking about and worrying about the kids. I have no legal rights to them, so if we break up and she moves away, I'll probably never get to see them again, which is a selfish thought. The older kids aren't mine either. They are my stepchildren technically. So in theory, yes, I would be willing to raise a child that isn't mine, but it is different this time because this child was conceived during our marriage. I just feel like I would be screwing the kids over because I support the family financially and they deserve to have a good life. OP acknowledges that karma came back full circle. I mean, I cheated on my ex-wife with my current wife cheated on me and had someone else's kid. It's not hard to see how screwed up things are. OP's current plans. Therapy and trying to make amends is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is the only way forward if I want to keep living. I really love those kids. They are so amazing and they deserve better adults in their lives than the ones they were given, me included. I think I'm going to be okay eventually. I just have to keep getting through the hard parts. She said she was sorry for hurting me. She said it was over and that they had relations over a 3-week period and that he ghosted her. When I asked her about therapy before, she said no. But when I brought it up again more recently, she said she'd think about it and maybe start once she's a few weeks postpartum. She said staying married was up to me, but I told her that she also needs to want it. If we break up, she plans on moving back to her hometown, which is in another state. But if it is possible in any way, and she's okay with it, I will try to find a way to stay in their lives. Holy smokes, how everything is just twisted for this guy. And I don't know if I'm supposed to feel bad for the guy or not. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes, and we all recognize that, but at the very least, he understands them now, and he kind of got slapped in the face. Like, he wronged a lot of people, and then he ended up on the short side of the stick, and now he kind of, is living with those consequences. So I don't know if it's necessarily feel bad, but you're not happy. Like, I don't know. There's not really a good hero. There's not really a good, a good feel to this story, right? But to go back to the beginning, his ex-wife married his best friend, in quotes, that he wasn't invited to the wedding. He didn't talk to him, never texted him. And in all honesty, I mean, that whole beginning, absolute turd, crap, douchebag. Right? Like, he was mad and upset, but he cheated on this wife to go date this 20-year-old woman, and then he's not even really friends with these people. They go get married, and then he's mad that his 20-year-old wife knew about it because she's on Facebook or whatever, and then they have a big falling out, and then she cheats on him, has a different kid with a different guy. Like, it's a whole big mess. He made a lot of mistakes, and I don't know what the moral of the story is, other than I like the idea that you're never really out of it, I guess. Like, there's still something to keep fighting for. Like, those aren't even his kids. Like, his biggest motivation in life right now is wanting to keep trying and to still love this person who cheated on him, and, karma, vice versa, doesn't make what she did okay. Absolutely not. But you left a 40-year-old woman to date a 20-something-year-old with 3 kids, and, you cheated. Like, there's just the whole plan was doomed to fail from the start. But I guess it's good to see that there's always something to keep fighting for. He talked about unaliving himself, and now all he wants to do is live for these kids and to live to love this wife who may or may not actually love her. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the moral of the story is, but I kind of like that it's trending upwards. I hope that he's okay. I hope that everybody's okay, but it sounds like everyone else in his life that he kind of wronged is doing way better than him, as it should be, but now we want him to kind of rise from the ashes and find some semblance of, happiness, because we don't want everybody to just be sad and doomed. He realized his mistakes, he apologized, he's sorry for it. So good on him. He's making amends. He's trying to live his best life, and we're all rooting for him. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Story 4. Am I the butthole for buying lower grade steaks when my in-laws visit and serving my mom and dad Wagyu? Plus 1 year update. My wife and I live far away from both of our sets of parents. We visit them a couple of times a year and they visit us about the same. My mom and dad love food. They will buy pounds of garlic and leave it in a rice maker for a month to make black garlic. They plan their vacations around amazing restaurants. My in-laws are lovely people, but boiling chicken drumsticks is fancy for them, and they refuse to eat steak that isn't well done. I discovered this the first time I went to their home for dinner. I wasn't even asked how I like my steak. Everyone got a well-done steak. It took me years to convince my wife to try a medium rare steak. Now she loves them. I bought them beautiful prime steak for them when they came over when we moved in together. I made theirs medium well, and I died a little inside. Her dad took it back to the grill and destroyed them. So now I buy select grade meat. I've been buying some excellent quality Wagyu for when my parents visit. Not every single time, but maybe once a year. My wife says I'm being a butthole by not treating both families the same. I don't think I should waste money on great food for them when I know how they will treat it. Verdict, not the butthole. Relevant comments. Commenter, is there still a difference in taste? I want to agree with you, but if they can still taste that the Wagyu is higher quality and like it better, then I would say, yeah, you're kind of a butthole. However, I'm still judging them too, so I won't judge you too hard. Maybe cook one for them one night and not tell them and see if they can tell the difference. If they comment on how much better it is, then you know to treat them as well. If they can't tell the difference, then just don't say anything. OP. The entire point of Wagyu is that it is incredibly fatty and marbled. If you prepare it well done, it kind of isn't there anymore. OP on the black garlic his parents make. OP. If you leave garlic cloves fully peeled and everything and anything that can do a low temperature for a long time like a rice cooker, slow cooker, instant pot, like that it turns black. Not burned, just fully caramelized at a low temperature. It is creamy and garlic, but not harsh. OP on the difference between a well-done low-grade steak and a well-done Wagyu steak. OP. So a lower quality steak has less fat in it. When you grill a steak, the fat melts and renders out of the steak. So if you have a lean steak and you make it well done, you don't lose a lot of fat because it had very little to begin with. When you grill a prime steak well done, you might lose as much as 1/3 of the weight in rendered fat. With Wagyu, it might lose a half to 2/3. Update. A year ago, a bunch of people gave me crap for buying cheap meat for my in-laws and getting high-quality meat for myself and my family. If you will recall, that is because my father-in-law likes his steak to be turned into shoe leather. So I decided to treat him and my mother-in-law this time around. We visited with my folks for Easter and we went to visit my in-laws the next weekend. I brought A5 Wagyu steaks for the two of them, and just nice ribeyes for my wife and I. I reminded him that these steaks are super rich and are meant to be eaten rare. He said he knew what he was doing. Anyways, he set his smoker on fire. I will not be providing Wagyu for them again. It is literally like setting $400 on fire. Relevant comments. User 1. Did they enjoy the expensive well-done steak? OP. He burned his Traeger and almost caught his deck on fire, so I am going to say no. Top comment. User 2. I hope your wife acknowledged that it's unfair for you to waste money on good steak. Disclaimer. OP made an appearance on this thread. OP. If anyone is interested, my wife now understands and agrees that getting Wagyu for her folks is a bad idea. Her dad suggested that we replace his smoker. I literally walked away. No, absolutely not the butthole. I get the idea, like you want to be fair and split even treatment, right, between both sets of parents, but if the money's wasted and not appreciated in the same sense, why spend it? You know, maybe there's a different dish or a different activity or something else that you could spend that money on if you wanted to. Like maybe the wife's parents like to go skiing and his parents don't. Or get him tickets to some basketball game. Like there's got to be something you could do if you really want to make it up to them and spend that money elsewhere. But in terms of spending money on something expensive and something that they really appreciate and understand and cherish, burning Wagyu steak to pieces is not really getting your most bang for your buck. So absolutely not the butthole. And sorry about that guy's smoker. You know, he freaking lit his deck on fire. It sounds like just trying to cook these things. So, you know, it is what it is. He's absolutely not the butthole. I hope that he makes lots of tasty Wagyu for his parents. And I hope that he just, you know, some people aren't foodies, okay? Some people don't really appreciate or like food or understand food at all, so give him Cheerios, you know? It's all about love. It's the thought that counts anyway. Story 5. Am I the butthole for not letting my kids go on vacation with my ex because it's my time with them? So right now, both of my kids, 16-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter, and my ex are extremely mad at me because I won't give up my appointed time with them. My son won't even talk to me and my daughter is crying all the time. A little backstory. Me and my ex divorced shortly after my daughter was born. I blame him for it and he blames me. I won't go into detail here. We ended up with a 50-50 custody agreement, switching every other week. While this was 8 years ago, we're still not on good terms. We rarely ever talk to each other outside of the kids, and I'm perfectly fine with that. One thing we have agreed on since the beginning, though, is that we don't plan things on days that aren't ours. And unless it's extremely important, we don't switch days or weeks. In the 8 years since we've been divorced, I have never asked him to have the kids on a day that isn't mine, and I've never given him one of my days, even if he begged. Well, last week my ex contacted me and told me the good news. His parents are hosting a week-long family reunion in the summer at Disneyland, and he wants to take the kids. Well, the problem is that it's on one of my weeks. He asked me to let the kids stay with him that week or to switch a week with me, and I shot him down. It's my week with them and I get to spend it with them. I told him if it's so important to him to reschedule, but he claims his parents can't do that and that this is the only week that the whole family can go, and he told me that I need to think of them. I told him, tough luck, and hung up on him. Well, this last Sunday when my ex dropped the kids off with me, my son refused to talk to me at all, and my daughter wouldn't even look at me. When I asked my ex what was wrong, he refused to talk to me, only saying, ask them, in a snarky tone before leaving. When I asked my daughter what was wrong, she burst into tears and said that I was not letting Daddy take them to Disneyland. Asking my son, who still refuses to talk to me, it turns out that my ex told them I was not letting them go to Disneyland with him. He's trying to paint me as the bad guy. I sat both of them down last night to talk to them and explain it's my week with them, but they refused to listen to me. My daughter just cried and my son told me I'm only doing this to get back at my ex. I'm not though. I think it's unfair for him to do this when his parents scheduled it during my time with them. I demanded an apology from my ex and him to set things straight, but he refuses. And his last text to me being, can't tell them the truth because they already know it. I'm so upset right now. Am I the butthole because my ex scheduled something during my time with my kids? How is it my fault that I'm only using my right to spend time with them? Verdict. Butthole. Top comments. User 1. You're the butthole. Your ex gave you months of notice for this trip. Have you ever been to Disney? That's the kind of trip that takes a lot of planning, especially if your ex is trying to coordinate it with a large extended family. If this is the only weekend that his whole family can go, then do you really think this is the kind of thing that can be rescheduled so easily? He's trying to paint me as the bad guy. That's because you are the bad guy. You are being incredibly small, selfish, and petty, and it sounds like you are using this opportunity to get back at your ex and his family somehow. What you are really doing is damaging your relationship with your kids. This drama isn't even about your kids. It's about you and how you are being, in your opinion, so wronged. If you value your kids and your relationship with them, be flexible. User 2. How are you the evil stepmom to your own kids? You're the butthole. User 3. You're the butthole. You're stopping your kids from having a vacation at Disney because you're too petty to swap a week? I completely understand why your kids are upset at you. User 4. You're the butthole. You won't compromise with him and switch days because you've never asked to change weeks with him? How petty of you. Even if you don't have a good relationship with your ex, think of the children. The only person you're really hurting from not letting them go with them is completely innocent from... Even if you don't have a good relationship with your ex, think of the children. The only person you're really hurting from not letting them go is them, which they're completely innocent from. Stop being selfish and let them go. Update 12 days later. Okay, I'm here because my son found the post and is begging me to update it. After disguising the issue with my ex over the past 2 weeks, I have decided to swap a week in the summer with him to allow my kids to go to Disney with him. I am not doing this because I was the butthole in the situation, but because in the end you were right that it's best to compromise in the situation. What? I'm not doing this because you all said I was wrong, but merely because I realized what was the right thing to do in this situation. That's exactly what you're saying, kind of. Like, everybody gave you advice. Some people just have a really hard time taking the criticism, which is weird because you come to this thread and you post on it, blah, 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 blah. Am I this and that? Tell me how right I am that this person's wrong about what they did to me. And they're like, well, actually, you're the problem here. And they go, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about, this and that. Like, you know, if you're going to come and ask for the internet's opinion on something and they give it to you, you know, you don't have to take it so personally, but you come in here asking for advice, right? And they give it to you. So, you know, take it on the chin and work through it and understand it from a different perspective. So absolutely, is she the butthole? yes, right? Like months in advance. And she's like, well, we've never switched a week before, so I'm not going to do that now. Like, he gave her months in advance. This was a trip they planned, especially with the family. Everything was coordinated and lined up, and, you just become so petty. And granted, I've never been in a divorce. I've never had kids in the divorce, and I'm sure it's a little bit competitive. I'm sure that maybe there was some part of, like, maybe I'm jealous that he's taking them to Disneyland, so if I can stop it in some way and justify that in my brain and be like, well, you guys can't go to Disneyland, and that's not my fault, it's his, and it's just the way that it works out, so actually no one's going to Disneyland, so no parent is better than the other. Like, I can see the weird logic there, but in reality, if you really are going to care about your kids to the point that you would want to compete, just care about the kids and put them first always in what sounds like fun in a summer trip, and, just take care of the family. I don't know. But yeah, she's absolutely the butthole, and she did take the advice because she got the advice. I don't want her to try and claim that she had her own come to Jesus moment outside of this post, all right? This was the internet's power of persuasion, all right? And everybody else bestowed a lot of good, mature, and wisdom, and it got to her. So good job, internet. You did a great job. And good job, lady, because you did take it in the end, and you did what was right by your children. Whew. Now I really want to go to Disneyland.